When we think of successor Space Marine chapters, we often view them as being less experienced as first founding chapters, but many of them that were created during the second founding have been operational since before the Horus Heresy. Some of them can even trace their first battle brothers to Terra itself. These illustrious and skilled successor chapters possess as much skill and power as the chapters like the Blood Angels and the White Scars. And with that said, I want to welcome you guys back to another 40 Facts about the 40K universe. I am your host, Gersh1, and today we're going to be talking about the Nemesis Chapter. If you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40K lore videos every single day. If you guys have any suggestions for topics or any questions, please let me know what they are in the comment section below, and I'll try to create a video for you guys. And if you guys enjoy our content, thank our patrons on Patreon. It is because of them that we can do this. Link in the description if you guys want to support us. But with that said, let's get into 40 Facts on the Nemesis Chapter. The Nemesis Chapter is a loyalist successor chapter of the Valiant Ultramarines. Their origin can be traced back to a time before the Ultramarines, or at that time they were known as the 8th Legion, were united with their Primarch Guilliman. During this period of the Great Crusade, the majority of the warriors of the 8th Legion were Terran-born Astartes. They hadn't yet proven themselves on the field of battle. One chapter in particular began to establish its record as an exemplar Astarte force. It was the 22nd chapter of the 8th Legion. For many, the 22nd's courage against the enemies of the young Imperium was inspiring. The pinnacle of their success came during the purgation of the abhuman corsairs of the Canceria Nebula, where their unrelenting bombardment of the enemy fleet saw it completely annihilated. Because of this victory, the companies of the 22nd wore black gauntlets, midnight blue helms, and the ancient weighted scales and death head icon of judgment as their new heraldry, something that wasn't really common during that time. Most of the 8th Legion still maintained the traditional post-unification storm gray and gunmetal color scheme. The 22nd was one of the first chapters to make their achievements visible by the color and design of their power armor. They also distinguished themselves by adopting the name Nemesis rather than their numerical designation. At the same time, the Nemesis chapter began to maintain large numbers of Space Marine destroyer units, a unique deviation that was not common amongst the chapters of the 8th Legion. To learn more about the destroyer unit, click the link up above. Following the discovery of the Legion's Primarch by the Emperor, Guilliman quickly set about restructuring his Legion's operational doctrines and hierarchy to suit his own personal taste and style of leadership. While the newly espoused doctrines of structured adaptability became deeply ingrained within many of the Legion's chapters, there were some notable deviations from this pattern. The Nemesis chapter was one of these exceptions. Guilliman allowed the chapter to maintain its large force of destroyers, and routinely deployed the Nemesis chapter specifically for Exterminatus missions. Guilliman viewed the destroyers as an unpleasant necessity, keeping them off the front lines wherever possible, and expressing an intent to restructure the dedicated destroyer companies of the Nemesis. During the campaign against the Orcs of the Thal's Empire, he kept the destroyer companies in the void, hunting the Orcs on the barren moon of Agrigentum V. In the wake of their chapter master's death, Guilliman appointed Captain of the 166th as his replacement, as part of an effort to integrate Nemesis into the wider cult of the Legion. The destroyer companies were eventually deployed in reserves in the final stages of this battle against the Greenskins. Following the end of the Horus Heresy, it was Guilliman who was responsible for the restructuring of the Imperium's military force as the Lord Commander of the Imperium. The vast Space Marine legions would be broken down into numerous smaller existing formations. They were known as chapters. When the second founding of the Space Marines was decreed 7 standard years after the death of Horus and the end of his heresy, most of the old loyalist legions divided into fewer than 5 successor chapters, but the Ultramarines were divided into many. The existing 22nd chapter formed the core group of the Astartes from the newly formed Nemesis chapter. They adopted a new chapter color scheme of dark green power armor and a chapter badge of a large stylized white skull, although some of their older suits of power armor still had the former iconography. The Nemesis chapter continued to wage wars across the stars, completely independent from much of the scions of Guilliman. And unsurprisingly, few records of their chapter's history exist. The only verified battle in the current era was in the 41st millennium, during the Orphean War, when the Nemesis chapter sent out troops to fight the growing threat of the awakening Necron dynasty, identified as the Maynarch dynasty. Although they arrived too late to participate in the desperate Battle of Amara, the detachment was requisitioned to enforce a security corridor around those worlds yet free of the Necron's control, while the Imperium heavily fortified the neighboring sectors. There are rumors that claim that the Nemesis chapter has become expert exterminators of the greenskin threat, a task almost impossible to complete, given the Orcs' ability to repopulate a planet even after Exterminatus. Most of the planets under their domain are surprisingly clear of greenskins, But it's no surprise that these warriors that have been battling the orcs for so long have gained a significant level of expertise in killing them. During the Indomitus Crusade, the Nemesis Chapter's ranks were replenished with Primaris Marines. With the return of Guilliman, the chapter has made more of an effort to work with the Imperial forces outside of their boundaries. The chapter's tactics still rely on heavy support, and there are rumors that many of the ancient destroyer weapons are still in their possession, and there is no better chapter than the Nemesis to guard such precious and dangerous weapons. And those were 40 facts on the Nemesis chapter. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is a perfect example of one of those chapters that has a really good core structure to their lore, but it's up to you to homebrew the rest, because you literally have 10,000 years from the time of the second founding all the way to like now for you to fill with, whatever homebrew lore you want. So if you like the color scheme, if you like the iconography, and you like the concept that was established in the beginning of like destroyers, and like destroyers are basically just like heavy weapon teams, but like heavy weapons that are, the weapons themselves are kind of like weapons of mass destructions that the other Imperial forces didn't even use. And like I said in the earlier part of the video, check out our 40 facts on the destroyer units of the Space Marines. It's really good lore. It's lore that highlights a portion of the 30K world, or like back in the 31st millennium when the Great Crusade was going on, that you don't really hear about in the 40K universe. So check that video out. And it also creates like a really good like point of interest for your tabletop. So if you are playing, you give your chapter a completely new like purpose for fighting. So you're not fighting for objective markers, you're fighting for these pieces of archaeotech, the destroyer weapons that were basically like weapons that even Space Marines would get hurt from using. If you like that concept and you want to run with it, then this chapter is perfect for you. And then at the same time, if you don't, but you want a chapter with some lore, then this is also perfect for you, because you could just adopt that ideology. And if you want to change it, you could change it, because it's 10,000 years. Obviously, the chapter has to adapt somehow. So it's completely up to you how you twist it. And then obviously, you want to read bits and pieces of the Horus Heresy just so that you get more information on this chapter. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it helps you guys out. And if you guys have any more requests, comment down below, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. This was Gershwin with One Mind Syndicate signing out.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.